I'll have to be honest with you. First thing I'm going to mention right up front is it's free. I like this service when it's free because, you know, you can tie up a lot of money in different services, and from experience I found out that sometimes you can pay a lot of money and you may not be getting that much out of it.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. Today is the 19th, that means it's a Thursday. We had export sales out this morning. In the overnight, at the very opening of the overnight session last night, we had a very interesting and volatile trade there in the grains. We had the US dollar selling off very sharply, and as a result of that, we had grains gap higher in the overnight, but for the remainder of that session, it really seemed to move sideways to drift lower. By the morning pause, we were for the most part unchanged. Let's turn over to the grain hedge trading platform and see where we closed off the day. Corn trading down a penny, soybeans down 2 3/4 cents, and wheat in Chicago trading up 3/4 of a cent here on the day. Now we did get export sales out this morning, so let's dig into those numbers. You'll notice corn came out with 502,000 metric tons. That was on the low side of analysts' estimates, but it was an improvement over last week of 20%. Take a look at the cumulative export sales here for corn. You'll notice we booked 36.5 million metric tons at this time of the year compared to last year, which is the blue line. Last year we had around 38.9 million metric tons. But you also notice that we are well ahead of the pace needed to meet USDA expectations, and those do include the revised expectations in the March WASDE report. So right now we are behind last year's pace, but we're ahead of the pace needed, taking into account seasonality to meet USDA expectations. No major concerns there for corn, though it does seem over the last couple of weeks we have not had the export sales that we'd like to see here if we're going to get a real bid under this market. Take a look here at soybean export sales coming in within analyst expectations, right in between the analyst guess at 342,000 metric tons. When you look at the cumulative export commitments here, you'll notice that we have booked 48.07 million metric tons compared to last year at this time of 44.4 million metric tons. So we're well ahead of last year's pace. Of course, we're well ahead of the pace expected to meet USDA expectations, which is only 43.6. And you can see we're very close to actually meeting the USDA expectations here. The bottom line is that there's expectations that we're going to see sales really start to decline and flatline here for the remainder of the marketing year. When you look at the blue line is of course last marketing year. You'll see that right around this time, the last red bar to the right is this week's cumulative export sales. It's right around this time that you'll notice that blue line really starts to flatline and we get very few export sales. I'm concerned that the Brazilian real, which has been selling off sharply compared to the dollar, is going to make Brazilian soybeans much more competitive on the global market, and it could cause some cancellations here for the commitments that we see on the books, and that makes me a little bit concerned that we could start to backpedal here if we really see some significant sales out of South America and we really start to see a discount of South American soybeans compared to U.S. soybeans. Other than that, we could talk a little bit about wheat coming in within analyst expectations here, booking 391,000 metric tons. That's up 12% week over week, right within analyst expectations. Nothing really too exciting there, but this certainly does help support wheat, which has been rallying here, mostly on short covering due to the dryness in Texas and Oklahoma. Take a look here at the actual drought monitor. We're going to talk a little bit about the drought monitor last week versus this week. One thing that you'll note is that it has been getting drier there in Minnesota. You are going to want to pay attention to this. This I do not believe is going to be market moving right now, but it's definitely something that we're going to want to pay attention to if this starts to develop into drier conditions here as we move toward planting. Also note that we have gotten a little bit worse in terms of the overall drought down there in the panhandle of Texas as well as Oklahoma. That area is very dry, and when you look at the 30-day outlook here that NOAA provides, you'll notice that there it looks to be some relief to the drought, but the core areas that have been the driest are looking to continue to be dry over the next 30 days. That could continue to have impacts here on the winter wheat and overall wheat prices here in the market. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, please give the office a call. The number is 877-472-4607. Keep in mind that Informa Economics is going to come out with their latest crop planting forecast on Friday at 10:30 a.m. That's going to be something we'll talk about tomorrow on GrainTV. We'll also cover the weekly basis changes that we saw. Of course, we did have along the Ohio River an overflow. We saw flooding throughout the Ohio River. We saw significant kind of backup of barges and barge traffic. That's going to most likely influence basis, so stay tuned on Friday to see what that did to the river markets and what that may do to the countryside elevators. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here Friday for the weekly wrap-up.